Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good day. I know that we are here at Motive2Change.
We sure are.
Yeah.
We have Josh.
Carine.
And Matthew.
And we are bringing you another episode of Motive2Change.
All right.
First of all...
Episode numero 2.
Yeah, episode numero 2.
Dos.
The first thing I want to do is thank all of the viewers for 50 views on our first episode.
Yay!
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
You can't see me right now, but I'm clapping.
We can hear you.
All right, even better.
At the time of recording this, on Wednesday, April 2nd, we are currently at about 46 views. I'm assuming by the time this is posted, we'll be at 50. So, we wanted to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for that.
Yes, thank you very much. Your support means a lot to us.
I agree.
And actually, I wasn't really expecting this, but we actually have a suggestion from one of the viewers for this week's topic. And I really wasn't expecting it, as I said, for the second episode, but I guess you guys are hearing what we're saying, and that's always a good thing, so. Okay. So, this suggestion comes from one of our friends who works with us. Well, me and Matt, anyway. His name is Jonathan. He's become one of my good friends at work. And I really would like to thank him for the suggestion and for being himself. I mean, he's a really great guy.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for the great idea.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know you, but I hear good things.
Yeah, we just saw... Well, when Josh suggested the idea to us, we were almost unanimously in agreement with it. So we really wanted to do this one for you.
Yeah, for sure. So the topic he suggested that we do is the topic of, or the idea of, acceptance. And kind of linking it to youth. And what he suggested it for is because it's kind of the most prominent issue surrounding today's youth. Even more so than bullying, the effects of change, academic issues, and social interactions. It's kind of like the umbrella term, actually. If you think of acceptance, the big issue affecting youth today. So is there any kind of opening thoughts that anybody had on acceptance?
Well, I think when it comes down to acceptance, I think youth really have a really hard time with it because they're not just trying to get acceptance from their peers and from their classmates or whatever. They're also trying to get acceptance from people who are a lot older than they are. And I mean, I can only speak from my experiences. I grew up during a time in which it was a lot harder to get acceptance than people who are older than I was because, I mean, it wasn't so much the fact that, I mean, I had trouble fitting in with my classes, but I think I had a harder time fitting in with older adults because they always saw kids like us as being like nuisances, you know, like the little stereotypical get your feet off my lawn type things, you know, like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does anybody, do you understand what I'm trying to say? You know, I mean, like, I don't know if that came across all that clear.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to acceptance with today's youth, it's more of trying to be accepted from their peers as opposed to older people now.
Yeah, I think it's a lot different nowadays than it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. Now, unless your peers have older brothers and sisters or something like that, which you're trying to impress, I don't think that's really a relevant issue today. But, I mean, it could be in some cases. But what about you, Carine?
Well, I kind of feel like... Well, I know from experience, when I was in elementary school, acceptance was a really big thing for me, considering I had no friends and all that. But I tried to, like, go to different groups and actually try to be like them so they would accept me. So I'd actually have, like, a place. I don't know if you guys know what I mean, but, like, feel a part of something.
Oh, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. I know in elementary school I had a really hard time, but my toughest years were high school, actually, because in high school, you're known to seeing a lot of people who have, like, different cliques. I mean, you have, like, all the sporty kids hang out together and all of the peppy kids hang out together. Like peppy, I mean like happy people, you know? And I mean, like, for somebody who didn't really fit into any of the cliques, it was a really hard time for me because I had like qualities that could be fit almost every clique, but it wasn't enough to actually fit into the clique, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Well, I see it today, like, even when I'm working with, like, really young children, like 4 or 5, I'm seeing it, like, it's weird. There's this one little boy who's he's like the popular kid of the kindergarten class. And literally everybody is trying to get his acceptance.
Uh-huh.
And it's really like, it's kind of sad actually, because it's just like, they aren't being themselves just to get the approval from this one little boy. And it's I don't know, it's interesting how it affects.
I think we all have like instances where that's happened. I mean, like, there's always going to be like somebody who's like deemed the cool kid in school and everybody kind of wants to be around him, but it's not until you get a little bit older that you realize that the self-proclaimed cool kid in school really isn't as cool as you thought they were.
No.
And I'm not sure if Josh has anything to add to that at all, but
well, I think it's the cool kid of the school, as he said, is also different from clique to clique.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my instance, or my experience, I found kind of acceptance within the music department at my local high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that a lot of people would go to the older, more experienced, more popular kids within the music department, as opposed to, let's say, the school.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of were our own little family. We would eat lunch in there. We would talk. We would have something called the music executive every Tuesday. We would have bands after school, everything like that. We just kind of found acceptance within our peers who would like the same things as us.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of the main issue today, is that not a lot of people are liking the exact same things. So they're finding it hard to make friends. Yeah. So
I think liking something is starting to become a little bit more superficial even now with inventions like Twitter and Facebook. I mean, social media sites are good for some things, but at the same time, it kind of makes things a little bit unimportant because if you're just clicking like on every single thing, it starts to lose its luster of some sort.
Yeah. And it really, if you're liking everything, you're kind of losing your identity.
Exactly. That's exactly a good point.
It's kind of difficult to explain how today's youth really struggle with the idea of acceptance, especially for accepting their peers when they're different. All the teachers say, join all these clubs, join extracurricular activities, do this, do your homework, do all that stuff. They don't really have time to even think about accepting others for the way that they are, because they're trying to fit into their own life. And that kind of goes in... Sorry?
No, go. Keep going.
That kind of goes into the other topic that we have, the idea of loving yourself. I have a quote here. It's by Steve Maraboli, and it says, "Love yourself, forgive yourself, be true to yourself. How you treat yourself sets the standard for how others will treat you." That quote really kind of hit home with me, and it kind of explained the whole idea of if you like yourself and if you're comfortable with what you're doing and the activities that you choose to share with others, you'll kind of dictate how you want others to treat you, and they'll have an easier time kind of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely can see that.
I was just going to touch on, before we continue on with like the loving yourself part, like we're talking a lot about how acceptance in schools and stuff like that, but there's not just that. Like I know with me, like there's also kids and youth, like they try to get accepted in their family as well, especially if you have a sibling. In my instance, my brother is diagnosed with autism, and well, for like, if I brought home an A, it wouldn't really get acknowledged from my mom or my dad. But as soon as, my brother did something good, it was like, woohoo, let's go to Subway or something like that. But it's just like, I tried my hardest to get acceptance from my parents. Like, I think it has a lot to do with peer pressure as well. Like, I don't know. It's, yeah.
I think what you're explaining, though, has a lot to do with peer pressure as well, though.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Or not peer pressure, sibling rivalry is what I meant to say.
Probably.
Really, how much of the age gap is between you and your brother?
2.5 years.
Yeah, so that's kind of the same as me and my sister. We have 1 year, 2 months. And I find that we're constantly in a competition. Growing up, we would get all the same things for Christmas, and all of this things would be the exact same because my parents didn't want us to feel like we were the favorite or the other one was getting something better. Everything like that. And then now I find, especially with grades, as you mentioned, I find that it's actually motivating for me to get the higher, or strive for the higher grades, to compete against my sister and gain the acceptance from my parents. Everything like that. So,
yeah. Now, see, in my family, it was a lot different because I'm the youngest of 3 children, but there is huge age gaps between me and my 2 sisters. One is 9 years older than I am, and the other one is 15 years older than I am. So if you figure it out, my parents basically had 1 child per decade. So
that's a good way to put it. It's
kind of different for us because we all grew up in basically different generations. I mean, one of my sisters went to school in the 70s and 80s. The other one went in the 80s and 90s, and I graduated in 2000. So there really wasn't any chance for sibling rivalry because both of my sisters were already moved out of the house by the time I was 11. So from 11 on, I wasn't really, but I was kind of like an only child. So it was a lot different for me than it was for you guys. But at the same time, it was a lot harder for me because I never really grew up with anybody who was really close to my age. I found it really, really hard to relate to anybody who was my own age. In fact, a lot of my friends now are either really, really a few years older than I am or a few years younger than I am. That's nobody really ever really is the same age.
What do you think causes that?
I don't know. I think it has to do with the fact that maybe because I wasn't around people my own age, I never really got to learn what it was like to understand them properly. But somebody who was a lot older than I am, because I had the experience of living with older siblings, I think I can understand them a little bit more than I can somebody who's like my age. And because I have nieces and nephews now that are like 17, 16, 15, I think I have a little bit of a rapport with them as well. I mean, like I said,
What happened?
Just,
Well, that's not good.
Nope. Well then, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay.
That's fine. So we have Matt back here now.
Yes.
Apparently he broke Skype.
I did not need to.
So
I guess I got so involved with the story that I kind of hit something wrong, but it's only episode 2, so things like this are bound to happen anyway.
For
yeah,
sure.
we're still ironing out the technical difficulties, I guess. So I'm not sure.
Difficulties being me.
Well, we weren't going to say anything. No.
No, but hey, this is good. I mean, I'll admit to my mistakes. So.
Okay, so I'm not sure where you left off, but if you could try to continue from the last point, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, I was just basically summarizing the whole idea of there's like really no when I talk about my group of friends, there's really nobody that's like really my age. There's a few people, but most of them are either 10 years older or 10 years younger than I am, just because that's what I've been exposed to the most. So when I eventually did go to school, like public school, I had a really hard time relating to the kids because I didn't have that experience that other kids had,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that kind of creates the barrier, or a thicker barrier anyway, to being accepted?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, I found it really hard to relate to people my age because, I mean, because I wasn't really exposed to too much sibling rivalry and because I wasn't really exposed to too much of anything with kids my own age, I had no idea that they could act the way they acted. I was just used to being around people who were older and acting a certain way. So I kind of foolishly sort of expected kids my age to be the same when we were like 5 or 6 or 7. And that definitely wasn't the case at all.
Huh.
Yeah.
So, okay. So what kind of thing would you suggest that you kind of do then to be more accepted with people your own age?
Well, it's hard, because I think ultimately in the long run I probably would have benefited if I had gotten involved in more youth groups or anything like that. I mean, like, I did attend like a summer playground program when I was younger, and that was a big help, but the problem was that a lot of the kids who were enrolled in that program went to different schools, so I never got the opportunity to follow up on friendships. And that was a real barrier right there.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe even social media would have helped there.
It very well could have.
Yeah. Have you tried maybe adding them on Facebook?
If I could find them, sure. I mean, like, I've actually added a few of my classmates from school, and it's worked out very well. But again, a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm generally kind of shy. And because of my experiences in school, there's a part of me that worries that if I add them, they might remember me for something that's like a negative memory. And I guess I kind of chicken out, and I probably shouldn't.
At least you own that, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? You can self-identify as being shy and being afraid that they're going to remember you in a negative sense as opposed to a positive sense. And that idea is very scary in itself.
It is.
So kind of moving on again to the idea of loving yourself or putting yourself first sometimes. I have another quote. It's hard to feel desire when you don't feel desirable. That's by Christine Feehan. And that kind of goes along with the first quote that I said about how you have to kind of set your own standards and live up to those standards for yourself. And then other people will be more likely to treat you with those same standards.
I like the quote, though, for sure.
Very good.
Yeah, I read that and I'm just like, I've never heard that before, but it kind of puts a new twist on the generic quote that we are kind of more susceptible to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool.
It is. I think when it comes to liking ourselves or even loving ourselves or even liking ourselves, I think a lot of us don't realize that we can be our own best teachers in that. And I mean, when you're surrounded by people who do not have your best interests at heart, it can make for some very interesting and not in a good way times.
Yeah.
Because I did have an instance when I was in first grade, I had this teacher who I'm not going to name just because of the fact that I don't really want to speak of her name at all, but
for confidentiality.
Yeah, but she was not exactly the nicest person to get along with. She particularly liked to poke fun at the fact that I had a walking impediment back when I was younger.
Okay.
I guess I should explain. When I was younger, I did walk on my tiptoes. And the reason why is because the arches in my feet hadn't developed fully until I was like maybe about 10 or 11.
Okay.
And one time I had to go use the washroom, and she refused to let me go unless I admitted in front of the entire class that I would walk on my flat feet. And that set the stage for 8 years of being called names related to my walking style.
It's really sad. Like, people don't realize, like, words have a stronger effect than almost anything. And I'm just going to point out that your teacher kind of sounds like Lord Voldemort, just saying. Like, you were saying how you didn't want to mention her name, you know, how no one mentions Lord Voldemort's name. Exactly. And then she's mean, too, so it don't make sense.
That she actually had a nose, whereas Lord Voldemort did not. But, But no,
Very
I
big
mean, like,
difference.
you expect these sort of, like, I mean, it's part of growing up. I mean, like, kids pick on kids all the time. I mean, like, that's never going to change. That's always going to happen. And a lot of the times it is good natured. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of it can be mean, but when a teacher does it, I think that's inexcusable regardless of what you are, because you're supposed to be setting an example for children. And obviously she wasn't a very good example at all.
I agree, because then all the other students see her making fun of you, and then all of a sudden they think, oh,
Okay.
there's an adult doing it. It's fine.
Like, she's doing it, so we can do it too. So,
I think
that's not right.
I think that's one of the big reasons that youth today aren't very accepting of their peers anyway.
I
Yeah.
agree.
They see the media, they see teachers, they see all of the adults in their lives doing exactly what they shouldn't do.
I mean, you see shows all the time, like Survivor, for instance. Like, people are backstabbing each other all the time, and they're like thinking, oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah. Media has a big effect on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and social media on top of that.
Oh, yeah.
Really,
Oh,
like,
I'm so glad we did not have Facebook when I was in high school, because that would have been hell. I'll tell you that much.
well, it
You
definitely
mean
would have been
18 double
different
hockey
for sure.
sticks?
Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot we're supposed to, like, not do any of those words, but
That's okay. I saved you.
yes, you did. But, I mean, like, back when I was a kid, I mean, we didn't really have any sort of, like, computer things. I mean, email was a fairly new invention by the time I started high school, so it was bad enough that people were sending nasty emails to each other. Unfortunately, I was a victim of that too. But I can't even imagine being a high school kid now. I mean, there's so much pressure nowadays. And with social media, people posting things at like a fraction of a second, that's really, really hardcore.
Yeah.
I kind of want to change the table up a little bit.
Okay.
I think that we've all kind of experienced bullying in varying levels.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that that's kind of affected our ability to accept others for who they are? Or do you
Yes.
think that it hasn't changed that at all?
I think it has, but I think not in the way that a lot of people expect. I mean, some people, when they're bullied, they grow up to be bullies themselves. But as I matured, I started to realize that it's much easier to reach out to somebody rather than tear them down. And that's just my attitude. But I can see how some people might become so angry at it that they start to become bullies themselves in order to not feel that pain anymore. I mean, I've seen both sides of it.
Yeah.
I know with me, as I was bullied too, and I don't think it changed how I view people at all. Like, not even one bit. Because I'm the type of person that, I'm going to give them a chance first. And if they do something that, hurts me or hurts someone I love, obviously I'm going to think twice about them. But I mean, like, I always, what am I trying to say here? I guess I always kind of look at them with the glass half full, if you know what I mean. Like, I give them the benefit of the doubt first. Yeah.
That's how I go through life. I think about life as kind of like a glass half full situation.
And you're complaining about me saying, oh, no.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
But yeah, like growing up, I'm not the smallest guy, and I'm still not the smallest guy at all. But growing
Neither
up, I was kind of made fun of for my weight. But I kind of turned that around and looked at them and kind of accepted them for who they are, because obviously they're going through some struggles right now for themselves. And I really didn't look at them in a negative way. I didn't even let it bother me that they were making fun of my weight. It's more, I was kind of worried for them. I kind of wanted to talk to them about what they were going through and see if we can help them through it, because then the world would be a better place. There would be one less bully, one less person to worry about putting other people down. And I feel that if I can take the kind of pain off somebody else that would be more susceptible to taking it to heart, then I feel that I made a difference in the world.
The thing is that 14 specifically is such a really tough age to go through, because you're transitioning from like elementary to high school, and your looks are changing and your voice is changing, and it's just a really awkward time. And I think everybody's gone through that awkward phase.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, there's no doubt everybody has.
Oh, yeah.
I know I certainly did.
Well, it's part of life.
I probably went through every phase possible. Literally, not even joking.
Wow. Yeah. So we kind of have to take that in consideration too. Like, really, we all have to go through, as you said, the awkward stage. And that's kind of when a lot of the hormones change our way of thinking, the brain chemistry, and everything like that. We kind of go into a more negative, stress affects us more, everything like that. And then we don't have the coping strategies. We're not taught the coping strategies in school anyway, to deal with the stress, and we kind of take it out on others. What's that?
Not anymore, anyway.
But if you become a child and youth worker, you learn those things. Just saying.
Kind of promoting our program there a little bit.
I am.
Absolutely.
I thought I'd do some promotions, advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, don't apologize.
So that kind of explains the idea of why we aren't accepting. You know, the media, social media, seeing it from our peers, seeing it from other teachers, adults, everything like that. But this topic is more directed at Carine more than anything.
What?
Because, as you said, you're a child and youth worker. So, how can we be the change that we want to see in the world, Carine?
Oh, Lordy. We just have to... You didn't even... Oh.
Put her on the spot.
Yeah.
I did that on purpose.
I know you did.
So,
And it was funny because just at that time, the cat just finished licking himself and his tongue was still sticking out of his mouth. He just looked at me and I was like, oh, Lord.
Cat tangents again.
I'm sorry.
We're going to try to avoid those.
We said it was going to be hard, okay?
Please stop talking about cats. The end.
It was the first time in this episode, okay? Give me a break.
So I kind of feel that one of the main solutions to almost any problem is education. Not more, it doesn't necessarily have to come from a teacher, but maybe all of the adult figures in a child's life needs to kind of get on the same page and promote coping strategies for stress.
Not only that, but your peers around you can be great, like teachers, like, you know what I mean? Like, I had some friends who taught me things that I don't think a teacher or a parent could have. Like, yeah.
No, yeah, I would agree with that.
When I first started at my job 10 years ago, I was, well, not quite 10 years ago, but almost 10 years ago, I was like a nervous wreck waiting to happen. I mean, like, I snapped at everybody. I was like not the greatest mood. And I mean, like, the fact that a lot of my coworkers I can talk to about things like that, I mean, that helped me grow as a person, you know? And a lot of the coworkers that I have at my current employment place, I consider family, you know? And I'm not sure if Josh feels the same way, but...
No, I would agree with that. Some of them, anyway.
Some of them, yes.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are just there to get a paycheck, but I mean, that's kind of what the job is all about anyway, right?
Well, that's like that at any workplace, though. Yeah. Exactly, so...
Okay.
Josh, is it possible that you re-ask me that question?
Re-ask you what question?
The question you asked me that I froze up on.
How can we be the change that we want to see in the world?
Okay, well, first, I think, like, the whole theme of this episode is acceptance. So first, I think we need to actually accept who we are before we can actually help others. So, I mean, what was that?
I don't know. Some random sound.
All right. Well, if we accept who we are and, you know, like your quote said, start loving you.
Yeah.
You meaning yourself. Like, I think it will give us a better experience of how to help other people learn how to love themselves and accept the things they are and not have to worry about what other people think of them. And then I think that would be like a starting to change, first of all, if everybody learned how to accept themselves.
No, yeah, I would agree with that.
If you don't
Okay.
love yourself, how can you love anybody else?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sad thing is, I think I just quoted RuPaul, but I think but it's the same idea, you know? I mean, like, and I am the type of person who has had real struggles with self-worth and self-identity, and I mean, I still have that even now at my age, and there are some days in which I struggle more than others, but that's what life is. It's an everyday struggle sometimes, and you have to try and make do with what you have.
No, exactly.
I agree.
There's nobody who hands a book to you out of the womb that says, "Here's the guide to life. Follow it,
that
and
would be
you'll
epic.
be
So
successful."
easy if it was.
Yeah.
Life is ever changing, and kind of the idea of acceptance is more along the lines of adapting as well, adapting to change, being able to adapt to your body's changes, as in puberty around the age 14. You know what I mean? Like, all youth are changing at that point. You need to be able to adapt to those changes, and nobody tells you how to do it. It's all about yourself.
Well, no, I don't even think they teach like classes on that anymore. So,
Well, they probably do, actually.
This kind
If
of reminds
anything,
me
they
of
teach
that.
it earlier.
This kind of reminds me of the assignment we did in one of our classes where you had to think back on if you could, and you went and revisited a 5-year-old you.
Yeah.
Like, what's 5 lessons you'd tell them? I don't know, but this kind of like reminds me of that. And I think, first of all, if people started thinking that way, you know, maybe it'd give them a little bit of an awareness of how to start accepting themselves. And yeah, you know what I mean?
exactly.
I liked that assignment, personally.
I know, it was fun. There's a lot more than 5.
I kind of want to do that assignment now that you've talked about it.
Go ahead, do it. What's
Now?
5 things? Yep, do it. If
Okay,
you
that would be
would
put on the spot here. Okay.
just
Okay.
5-year-old you, go.
Okay.
What are 5 things that you would want to tell your 5-year-old self?
Yeah.
But I would want to tell him?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's start with the easy one. Number 1, don't bury the puzzle pieces in the sandbox. You won't get in trouble. Because I actually did that one day.
Okay.
Oh, Lord.
Number 2, not everybody is going to like you, but you try to be the best person you are.
Nice.
Number 3, tell that teacher next time when she tells you to walk on your flat feet, tell them, this is how I walk, and
Lord,
storm away
Lord.
from her.
Exactly.
Because honestly, she had no business telling me how to walk at all. 4, don't worry about the fact that your handwriting is messy. It will eventually improve.
Okay.
And it's because I had horrible handwriting back when I was a kid. Horrible, horrible. And number 5, I'm trying to think about number 5 right now. Gosh, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Number 5, don't ever lose who you are. And don't let anybody try to change who you are, because who you are, and at 5 years old, it was like basically the bookworm sitting in the corner reading.
At 5?
Don't let anybody change that.
Oh.
All right. So now imagine yourself at your current age. Now somebody's telling you to do that.
Okay.
I want you to make those changes in your life.
Well, the first one's going to be easy. I don't have any puzzle pieces. in the
Yes, you don't
sandbox
have to
put-
bury the puzzle pieces. But you know what I mean? Like
get what
all
you're
the
saying,
other
I
ones.
really do.
What's that?
I get what you're saying. I absolutely do.
Yeah.
I know
mean-
one thing that really like stuck out to me in the group that I was in was actually your sister put it into better phrases, but it was don't be life's doormat.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's one that I think I'm still working on slowly but surely. And then the other one was quite funny because it goes it's a lyric from a Journey song, and it's don't stop believing.
Very
That one's-
strong.
Yeah, I know. I agree. But that one too, I think if people hold that in their heart, then, you know, their future will be brighter.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
Go
And really,
Carine.
it's don't stop believing in yourself.
Well, well, in anything, in any dreams that you have or
Yeah.
anything, don't stop believing.
Exactly.
And don't let anybody tell you that your dreams are impossible.
Exactly.
Mhm.
'Cause
This would be a
literally-
perfect time for the song.
Literally anything is possible.
Yes.
For sure.
Unfortunately, we can't play the song because then we have to pay Journey like
Copyright, yeah.
fee. But,
Let's all sing it, guys.
We can't even sing it.
all right. No, you do not want to hear me sing. You do not. That would get our show canceled. And we'd be booted off the internet forever, and Simon Cowell will come and slap us.
Oh,
We do not
scary.
want to hear me sing.
All right, so I think it's come to the time of the show where we move on to the fun fact with Matt.
Yes. And I gotta tell you, I had a really hard time coming up with a fun fact today because I tried to make it to fit our theme of acceptance, and I really had a hard time figuring out how to do that. So I'm just gonna make one up as I go along. And today's fun fact is that, well, actually, maybe I can twist it around a little bit to make it so. Everybody knows the game Donkey Kong, right? With the big gorilla. And
I hope everybody does.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You know the bad guy that was throwing the... well, no, actually, I think it was a... Anyway, that was the first video game appearance of Super Mario.
Huh?
Yeah.
Really?
You know the little guy that climbs up the ladders as Donkey Kong is throwing barrels at you? That was Super Mario.
Yeah.
And that
Oh
was
my
his very
God.
first appearance.
That is actually really awesome.
Do you know the year?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this was like 4 years before Super Mario Brothers actually was released for the Nintendo system. But yeah, that was the first appearance of Mario.
That's
Nice.
cool.
And since then, Mario has had like millions of games, and even Donkey Kong has his own video game called Donkey Kong Country, so...
Yeah.
You know what I kind of find interesting about Mario too?
No?
What? And I watched a YouTube video about this. It was like 30 minutes long.
Uh-huh.
And it was about Mario actually being the anti-hero.
Oh.
I can see that.
And this kind of brings in Donkey Kong too. Like, apparently the princess or whatever was not stolen, more as Mario was trying to steal her. That's just one of the theories anyway. And then another one
Mario
is...
wouldn't bother to rescue Princess Toadstool because A, she always gets kidnapped, and B, because she's always in a different castle, I probably would have given up after Castle 4. You know? Like, what is up with her? Like, does she not know karate? Does she not, like, slap chop Bowser or something like that every time he tries to come near her?
Have you seen Bowser? I'd be afraid too.
Well, if Mario can knock him into the lava pit every so often, then surely the princess can, like...
Another idea
fail.
was the fact that Mario really wasn't that nice of a guy. He'd jump on the turtles' heads who really did nothing, the mushrooms as well. And almost in every single game and adaptation of Super Mario, you could choose at least 5 examples of him not really bullying, but being mean to his brother Luigi.
It didn't seem right that Luigi didn't get his own video game until like the 2000s.
Yeah, and really, like, it kind of seems funny, but if you were playing 2-player on like the Nintendo, you were playing Mario, the second player always had to be Luigi, and they really fought over Mario.
Yeah.
And really, they were no different except for...
in which I liked Luigi better than Mario, and that was in Super Mario 2 because Luigi always jumped higher.
Yeah.
So it made for a lot easier gameplay.
Yeah, so kids, take that lesson. Play as Luigi.
Yeah.
Or at least get Yoshi to eat Mario.
This goes completely against what we've been saying, but don't accept Mario for who he is.
Or if you do, just don't rescue the princess because she keeps getting kidnapped and
be aware you're a bad guy.
But that also goes into the whole business of it, having to
learn
make...
Kung Fu.
What's that?
Princess Toadstool needs to learn Kung Fu.
Yes.
The reason I call her Princess Toadstool is because that's the name I grew up with. I know she's changed her name to Peach, but I always see her as Princess Toadstool.
Anyways, that goes into the whole business idea too, though. If she keeps getting captured, they're going to make more money because they have to make more games and everything like that. But anyways, we're not going to get into business.
Nope.
I think it's time for the quote of the day, Corinne.
Woohoo!
Yay!
I need like a theme song for this
Da,
quote of
da,
the day.
da, da,
Da-da-da-da-da.
Duh. All right. So, my quote of the day that I have chosen today is, give me a drum roll, guys. Go. And okay, so beauty is about being comfortable in your own skin. It's about knowing and accepting who you are. That quote is by the famous Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah, that's right. I went there.
Oh, nice.
Anyway.
Ellen. This is why I don't sing.
Can you repeat the quote?
Beauty is about being comfortable in your own skin. It's about knowing and accepting who you are.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked it.
Is there any specific reason that you chose it?
Well, a lot of people think, like, I know for girls, for instance, this probably happens for guys too, but like, your appearance has to mean everything. Like, when I was growing up, there was so many girls that, let's say, like, they wore so much makeup or they dressed a specific way just to impress guys. And like, if I were to do that, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but if I were to do that, first of all, I don't think I'd actually like be comfortable. And I definitely wouldn't accept myself, first of all, because it's not who I am. I don't know where I'm going with this. Someone take it away.
I think I see what you're trying to say is that sometimes when it comes to trying to look the part, there's always going to be somebody that thinks that you're either trying too hard or you're not trying hard enough.
Exactly. Yes.
And sometimes, I mean, I know it's mostly, you said you're right, it is mostly a female thing, but for males it works too. Because I've seen guys get razzed in the hallway or even get beat up for wearing the wrong sports jersey. And I've seen that actually happen.
Yeah, for
I think
sure.
that idea has been ingrained in us, though, by the media.
Could be.
Really, because let's say you see a really popularized movie with Brad Pitt in it.
Uh-huh.
And let's say Brad Pitt is smoking a cigar. All of the Brad Pitt followers, especially the guys, are going to want to look like Brad Pitt and do what Brad Pitt does.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts as early as toddlers. Like, look at Barbie, for example.
Yeah.
Like, all these girls want to dress like her, want to, you know, be as well developed as her, or, you know, like, it just, I don't know. It's very, I don't know.
Every single generation has its own style icon. I mean, like, in the 1980s, it was like Madonna. And in the 1990s, it was like maybe the Spice Girls. And 2000, I'm not sure, maybe
Probably
Britney Spears. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
A more modern example is probably Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
Oh, Lordy.
Not my idol, but...
Yeah.
No, mine either. I mean, I liked her before she did everything she's doing now.
Mm-hmm.
When she had the Hannah Montana, like the other side of herself, like that was awesome. That was actually really cool. And yeah.
It's funny you mentioned Hannah Montana because essentially it was a show about her playing two different roles. And she, to her fans, she was Hannah Montana, but to her friends, she was, you know, Miley. And rarely did the two ever intertwine with each other. I mean, there were only a few people that actually knew who she was. Mm-hmm. But the whole show was basically her portraying one side of herself to one set of people and the other side of herself to another set of people. And I would think that would be pretty hard to do.
It doesn't seem like she really accepted her other side enough to actually show it
exactly.
to the world. Like,
Yeah, that kind of teaches the young viewers as well to either change yourself for different audiences or really just not be yourself in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's sad when you think about it, especially for young ones. They should actually be who they want and be themselves and not have to worry about what others think.
However, the new Miley Cyrus, I find, and I'm probably going to get hated on for this, but I really feel that she's taking a stand to the media. Really, she's being herself.
Yes, but she has to remember she created with Hannah Montana all those young fans. Mm-hmm. And now all those young fans are seeing her for what she's doing now. Like, I have nothing against her. I'm just saying she did create that big span of young people. And all of a sudden now she's doing this. So what's these 6-year-olds going to start doing? Like, I don't know.
But is what Miley Cyrus is doing now any different than what Madonna did in the 80s or what the Spice Girls did in the 90s? I mean, it's all relative. I mean, like, everybody changes their style at some point.
I think this is a much bigger impact, though, because of the media.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And it could just be one of those phases like we were talking about earlier. Maybe this is her. This is who she is. And Hannah Montana and the old Miley Cyrus was her phase. Who knows? Like,
Interesting point.
Yeah.
Something to really think about.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I think we're going to end it there.
Okay.
I want to thank Jonathan again for the suggestion of the topic of acceptance.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with it.
I really hope that we kind of captured what you wanted us to capture in it.
If not, feel free to give us more information on what you'd like.
Yeah, for sure. We can definitely revisit it in the future.
Yeah, if you want me to accidentally hang up on the on again, just let me know and I'll do it again.
Yeah, for sure. Just like the final spiel, if you want to, you can follow us on Twitter at Motive2Change. And also myself and Carine at Joshua Feltmate and at Carine Goldie. The links and our Twitters are right on the video right now, and as well as in the description. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to like and leave us a comment with what you want to hear.
And subscribe.
And as for me, I don't have a Twitter account, but you can always follow me on a Pop Culture Addict's Guide to Life, which is my blog that I write every day.
He also has a Facebook
address
page.
is in the logo as well.
He also has a Facebook page about a Pop Culture Addict's Guide to Life.
Yes,
it's really good.
Please like it and read it, and I update it every day. Doesn't sound like begging, does it?
No.
All right, I want to thank you guys for watching. Please tune in to episode 3, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good night or good day wherever you are.
Yes, thank you very much, guys.
Bye.
Bye.